Coming up, wait times at your local hospital ER increase. Find out what's behind the change. And a battle over COVID relief spending brews between the Kansas governor and Republican lawmakers. Also, as cases of the Delta variant surge, Americans reevaluate their travel plans.
The 4 states most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 5 a.m. I'm Tanya Bach. We've got a little rain in the forecast today, but don't cancel your plans just yet. Michael Hayslip joins us with the first look at the forecast.
The nice thing about this morning is not as widespread as what we had yesterday, and really when we look at it, and most of it staying down to our southeast and then just to the east of the Ozarks right now. We'll keep an eye on everything out of east central Oklahoma and west central Arkansas. It is taking more of a west to east path, but this up here that's starting to filter into the far northwest portion of the natural state. Once again, those are just showers. We haven't even picked up any lightning, certainly no storm reports coming off of. Tell you what, Tanya, those clouds yesterday afternoon and evening, they helped quite a bit as far as taking a bite out of the temperature goes. Current conditions over 7th and Range Line, a comfortable 69 degrees. We talked about that humidity increasing all this week. Here we are in the middle of the week now. We're up to 90% at the 5 o'clock hour. But temperatures, you're not going to see a whole lot of difference there between what it feels like since we're sitting high 60s and low 70s right now. Fred doing its best, the remnants of Fred doing its best to flood portions of right now, moving up to the northeastern portion of the United States. There's the rain that we were talking about with the Gulf moisture coming out of Texas. And for cutoff low, when you see that circle right there, seemingly the third straight week that we're talking about oppressive heat and elevated fire conditions on the west coast. The yellow that you see, yep, that's going to be the result of Fred. And we've also got a couple other ones we've got to talk about, find out where Grace is. And now we got another one popping up in the middle of the Atlantic. Our weather trend here in the 4 states, we'll go mid 80s today. We'll see a high 80 every now and then, but actually it's going to be a couple degrees cooler than what we've had on Monday and Tuesday. All right, after we get past the noon hour, and we see a couple pop-ups take us into about 8:30, 9 o'clock. And then look at this, very similar Thursday morning to what we've had past couple of mornings. Maybe a little bit more widespread rain there on Thursday as well, as we bump that up to 60%. Not one of those where we wait until the afternoon or evenings, actually get started a little bit earlier. And then we begin to rise up on the thermometer because we're looking at 90s on the weekend and then mid 90s by next week.
Just be prepared when you go out.
Good start. Big event today out at Missouri Southern, outdoor event from 10 to 1. And so right now the plan is to go ahead and hold that outside. Big community event. So yeah, we'll keep our eyes on that. But talking to everybody yesterday, sounds like they're rearing to go.
All right, sounds good. A lot going on. All right, thanks, Michael. Well, top Republican legislators in Kansas accused Democratic Governor Laura Kelly's administration of illegally spending at least $86 million in federal COVID-19 relief funds by not getting their approval first. Governor Kelly's office did not respond to the letter from Senate President Ty Masterson, House Speaker Ron Brickman Jr., and the House and Senate Budget Committee chairs. In the letter, the lawmakers threatened to explore filing a lawsuit if the governor does not change course. The Republicans say a budget measure requires legislative leaders' consent for any spending of relief dollars starting July 1st. Kelly's office contends agencies already have the authority to spend relief funds. While the daily average of COVID cases may be down in the Joplin area, regional cases are still impacting Joplin hospitals, which in turn has led to an increase in ER wait times. Officials with Mercy Joplin say average ER wait times have nearly tripled in the last 6 months. To help offset that increase, the ER has made a few changes to procedures like drawing labs while patients are still in the triage area waiting for a room. Officials say the most important thing to remember is despite the wait, they're still here to help.
I know people are frustrated. It is not our desire to make anyone wait. They're not waiting because we're not working hard or we don't want to see them. And the reality is if you feel you have a need to come to the emergency room, we want you here. We want to be able to evaluate you and make sure that you're safe to go home if you can, or get you the treatment that you need.
Officials say increases in wait times to be admitted to the hospital from the ER have also happened. Times to get from the ER to a hospital room can be upwards of 4 hours or more. Missouri ranks 4th in the nation in COVID-19 deaths per capita. That's according to recent data from the CDC. State Health Department says of 124 deaths reported on Tuesday, 86 were discovered in the department's weekly examination of death certificates from across the state. One of those deaths was in June, 52 in July, and 33 earlier this month. But 38 of the deaths were new, an unusually high one-day total. We've lost 2 more people in Joplin due to COVID-19. The Joplin Health Department reports 2 men, ages 60 and 87, have died with the virus. The latest deaths bring the city's total to 155. Pitt State hosts its community fair. The event yesterday was for new and returning students, helping them learn more about the community and what local businesses have to offer. Vendors from the area set up booths on the Oval.
Help continue to strengthen the relationship between Pitt State and the local community. A lot of our students didn't necessarily get as much opportunity to interact last year, so this has been a really good step forward with that, particularly this fall as we have new and returning students.
Last year's PSU Community Fair was canceled, so organizers say this year's get-together was all the more fun. Well, as the school year starts, KOAM is listening to your questions and getting answers from local education and health experts. You can submit your questions on our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. While you're there, you can check out previous stories we've covered concerning getting back to school safely. Again, that's at KOAMnewsnow.com. It's 5:07.
The scattered rain that we had on Tuesday morning so far, but eyeballing northwest Arkansas, just look for a little northerly push, and that would be the far reaches of southwest Missouri, south of I-44 for some morning scattered rains. Also, too, as the Gulf moisture continues to move up upon us for today, once we get into the afternoon hours, a little bit more widespread. And even after the sunset break Thursday morning, we get started a little bit earlier, and it's a little bit more widespread. On top of that, Thursday is also warmer. It actually begins the trend that's going to head us up into the 90s by the time we get to the weekend.
Look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, high school football season officially starts in a little more than a week in Missouri. In sports, we'll check in on the Junction Bulldogs as they prepare for game day. Plus, after a rebound in travel this summer, families are once again canceling plans for trips because of the surging number of COVID cases. And we check out new technology that lets doctors monitor baby heart patients at home. You're watching the KOAM Morning News, more real news in the morning. We'll be right back.
Columbus Titans in the first week of football practice. Columbus been on a roll the last 2 years. But after a quick exit from the playoffs, Titans are excited to get back to work and make it right this fall.
The Columbus Titans are 16-3 the last 2 years and still have a chip on their shoulder.
Our kids are really still hungry. The season didn't end like we wanted it to last year. Had a great beginning, won a district title for the first time in several years, but we're still hungry for more.
The 2020 season came to a disappointing end, with the undefeated Titans falling to Girard in the first round of the playoffs.
I didn't stop thinking about that loss, for probably 2 weeks after. It hurt, but it was good for us, in the long run.
That last game is going to haunt me for a while. I'm going to use it as motivation and just get better and better throughout the year.
We talked about, learn from this mistake. We failed, and we just have to know that we've got to do some things different to get better, and it's really kind of drove us to have a different mindset.
This year's team is loaded with talent. Offensively, Columbus is led by returning starting quarterback Jackson Harity and running back Gabe Martin, who rushed for 1,200 yards and 17 touchdowns last year.
We're going to run the ball. I can move it well on my legs, and you know what Gabe can do. Everybody knows that. And then our line, there's some dogs. They can move some bodies around, but we can still get it done through the air. We got guys like Cole and Midget. They can catch any ball you throw up to them. I got a lot of trust in them when I throw it.
Our offensive identity is always going to be on our offensive line first. They're the first guys to the party all the time, but we've got to establish the run game. Jackson's done a fantastic job leading our offense, and we're just going to go as our offensive line goes.
On defense, the team returns its leading tackler and linebacker Trent Smith and defensive lineman Cody Schock. Both were first-team All-CNC selections last season.
We're really confident on defense. That's what we really stand out in, because it's a mentality of all gas, no brakes. That's what we have on defense. So I'm really proud of everyone up front and everyone behind us, behind me and the 3 men up front, to just work harder and harder and show everyone what we can do.
As our own Jacob Leonard reporting, of course, Titans' first game of the season on September the 3rd. It will be on the road as Columbus takes on Frontenac. It's also the first week of practice for the Riverton Rams, as Riverton has found some momentum, winning 10 games the last 2 years after winning just 5 games the previous 3 years combined. Rams have some experience back this season. That includes starting quarterback Walker Terry and All-State selection Derek Larison at tailback and linebacker. Larison says this group of guys has been playing together for a long time, hoping that chemistry pays off this fall.
I've been playing with some of these guys my entire life since 4th grade. I mean, I love them to death, and we're a small little town. We've been around for each other. We've been beside each other in every single class. I mean, we have bonds that's just different than a bigger school. Like, it's just a little different than what a big school with 60 people in your class. I mean, we have 10 people in our class sometimes. I know every single name. We're around each other 24/7.
On the Missouri side, it's week 2 of practice for the Junction Bulldogs. CJ just 9 days away from the season opener. That'll be at home against Willard on August 27th. Bulldogs 6-6 last season, finished as the district runner-up in the postseason. Now they lose some talented guys to graduation, including starting quarterback Alex Baker. CJ's going to be on the young side this year, but a week into practice, some of those young players already making an impression.
I think there's a lot of kids that we didn't really expect to be, like components of our offense and defense this year that have really stepped up and taken the role that the guys that graduated last year left for us. So I think that's been really cool to see. It's really important that we get younger guys that want to play and know how to play and that care for the sport.
We're really trying to be the toughest team out here. We're small, but we're quick, and we're really emphasizing on the toughness side of it.
Quick reminder to check out a full preview on teams like Columbus, CJ, Riverton, Pigskin Preview. Well, it's now live at KOAMnewsnow.com/pigskin. All the previews from Missouri, Kansas, Oklahoma, got to junior college, and of course our universities. All you do is click on a team page, and you're going to see all the content you normally would in the normal hardback magazine. Got the 2020 review, the returning players, schedules, and of course, the 2021 outlooks. Then at the bottom of each team page, this is the great part. Whenever our sports department shoots highlights from your team this year, those highlights are going to be on the team page. You can check back in throughout the year to keep up with your favorite 4-state team. Kansas City Royals snapped a 4-game losing streak Monday night. Took the series opener from the Houston Astros. Did so winning 7-6. Last night, Royals trying to make it back-to-back against the best team in the AL West. KC gets it done again, wins it 3-1. Daniel Lynch, what a start for the Royals. He went 7 innings, allowed just 1 run, struck out 5. Game 3 of the series tonight. First pitch, 7:10. National League opening game for the Cards and Brewers. Eduardo Escobar lines a single the other way. Tyler O'Neill comes up gunning. See ya. Still no score in the second inning. Colton Wong, former Cardinal Colton Wong, pops it down the line. You don't see many plays that Nolan Arenado can't make. This one will just elude him, gives the Brewers an early lead. And with Corbin Burns on the mound for the Brewers, who took a no-hitter into the 6th inning, Cards never managed to run. Brewers win it 2-0. Still to come on the KOAM Morning News, Americans are canceling trips because of concerns over COVID. And to check out our 7-day forecast when the KOAM Morning News returns. A little past 5:17, roll a little weather on the 7th. Speaking of the 7th, sunrise officially over Joplin on this Wednesday morning at 6:37. Comes to the time where we turn our attention down to the south. Heavy thunderstorm activity through North Texas. Then it makes its way into Oklahoma and Arkansas. Hasn't played much of a role for us yet, as everything has stayed down to the south of us and also east of the Ozarks. But what we will pay attention to throughout the course of this morning is right here on the Oklahoma-Arkansas state line, because this thing's got a little lift to it. And so we're going to see how much it presses into our far southern counties of southwest Missouri and northeast Oklahoma. It should stay south of I-44 for our morning hours. There's a live look over 7th and Rangeline in Joplin, a comfortable 69 degrees. Temperatures ranging anywhere from 67 in Iola to 70 there in Neosho and Oswego. Pittsburgh at 68, along with Miami at 68 as well. Now, a couple of additional things to talk about. We've got the oppressive heat and fire conditions out to the west. We tackled what's down to the south of us. Now, let's talk about our tropics. Fred, a low-pressure system, not the remnants as of yet, still considered a tropical depression, as it is moving right along the Ohio-West Virginia state line. Luckily, the tornadoes and funnel clouds it was dropping yesterday have become a thing of the past. They do, however, have flash flood watches stretching all the way up to Vermont. Look at that, from North Carolina to Vermont, and obviously that yellow will be Fred throughout the course of the afternoon hours. Then we drop down and take a look at Tropical Storm Grace, expected to become a Category 1 hurricane as it approaches the Yucatan Peninsula and then makes its way through central Mexico. And oh, by the way, we're now playing with the letter H. I've heard a lot of people saying it's Henry. You remember the French soccer player, Henry? Yeah. See, if I saw a name like that, I would have said it was Henri. Marcus, you and I are going to go with Henri this morning. All right. Tropical Storm Henri out there in the Atlantic. Too early really to tell how it's going to spin out there and what effect it'll have. Here in the 4 states, we'll go mid-80s today. We'll take a couple degrees off what we had from yesterday. Cloud cover really helped last night. Then as we get into the noon hour, here we go. Everything from the south moving up our way becomes scattered and then is done by about sunset. And even after a late night, early Thursday morning break, Thursday morning showers get started not only a little bit earlier, but also more widespread. We'll go that 60% chance of rain there on Thursday. So more people going to be seeing a little bit more of it. I mean, you can think about this, for the month of August, we're down about 1.4 inches. So we do need to catch up a little bit. Our something to talk about this morning on the KOAM News Now Facebook page and our morning Insta poll. After a rebound in travel over the summer, people are once again canceling plans for trips because of the surging number of COVID cases. In a recent survey, 27% of respondents say they've postponed a trip, and more than 54% said the Delta variant has made them less interested in traveling right now. Errol Barnett with the story.
It was really kind of heartbreaking to not be able to finally go.
On Wednesday, Cotton Star of Houston was expecting to see her friends in San Diego for the first time in a long time.
I'm a high-risk category, so I was a little concerned with what was going to happen during that travel. I was going to be exposed to a lot of people.
It's been basically 2 years now since I've been able to see them.
Kim Hoff outside Denver has been waiting even longer, planning to meet her friends at DragonCon, a pop culture convention in Atlanta next month.
When it got to the point of the rates just skyrocketing in the last week or so, I thought, no, I'm sorry. There's no level of logistics that will make me feel okay if I bring this back with me.
Both canceled their long-awaited trips due to the spread of the Delta variant.
Airfare is on the downtrend.
Economist Adit Damodaran with the travel app Hopper says summer flight demand has flattened from pandemic highs, which is now leading to lower prices. But his service is finding since July, one aspect of travel is up. There's been a 33% increase in people buying cancelable tickets.
People want to have that option to cancel if for any reason, something happens, the situation develops in a way where they can't take that trip.
Another potential pitfall, airlines cutting flights. In June and July, domestic air cancellations were above their 1% average, which translates to 10,000 cancellations in July alone. For the number of people canceling trips, a sizable number still plan to head out somewhere. According to a recent survey, 26% of respondents say they do in fact plan to travel in October. Errol Barnett, CBS News at Reagan National Airport.
Our question this morning, has the Delta variant affected your upcoming travel plans? Go to KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. Healthwatch next.
Topping Healthwatch this morning, doctors warn people not to use a horse dewormer to treat COVID-19. Ivermectin, an antiparasitic, has gained popularity on social media as a potential treatment for COVID-19. Now, farm stores are seeing an increased demand for the version that's used to treat worms in livestock. The FDA says that version could be very harmful or deadly because of the high dosage that's given to animals. A doctor based out of St. Louis also tells us people should not take the human version without a prescription, since there's not much data to support its effectiveness.
To be honest, if it shows that it really works, and again, based on a solid scientific methodology, then I think that we would be definitely on firmer ground to say that, we should use it.
The owner of the Midwest Ag Supply in Carthage says demand has caused the price to double and is making it harder for farmers to find out what they need. A study in JAMA Pediatrics finds babies and toddlers have the highest odds of transmitting COVID to a household member compared to older children. Researchers in Canada say one explanation is that younger children are not able to isolate from their caregivers when they are sick. It's a surprising stat. 1 in 100 babies born today will be born with congenital heart disease. More than 2,000 babies in the U.S. are born with the most severe form. These infants spend their first months in the hospital. As Dow Quick reports, new technology is allowing parents to take their babies home with the assurance doctors are keeping a close watch on them.
Little D'Angelo Jr. has smiled through a lot this past year.
This is the scar where they cut him open to do the heart surgery.
He was born with a complex form of hypoplastic right heart syndrome.
Parts of his heart didn't form, so like we have chambers that open and close to let blood flow in. His was like born like a wall.
After 118 days and 1 heart surgery, D'Angelo was sent home to wait for his next operation.
We were very focused on watching them closely at home, but we like for them to get home. That's the best place for them to be if we can do it safely.
New digital home monitoring technology called Hearts at Home is helping doctors keep an eye on D'Angelo from a distance.
And then the oxygen levels started to drop, kind of indicating that he needed to come back in.
Oxygen levels, heart rates, and weight can be monitored in real time through an app every single day.
There's also a place for them to put photographs, videos, additional information in terms of how the babies are feeding and pooping and peeing and if they're throwing up or not.
We are constantly on the iPad, on the desktop, and viewing where these families are at. We're on the phone, and we're catching things early for these families to make sure that nothing is happening at home.
Something did happen to D'Angelo. He caught COVID, but even then, this little fighter stayed home.
It allowed us to watch him from afar and not have to admit him to the hospital.
He's strong. He's strong. He fights off a lot.
Now D'Angelo is feeling better, waiting at home with his mom and dad for his next procedure.
Well, before Hearts at Home, parents would need to refer to a binder full of information on what to watch out for and to record their data. Since implementing the app in 2017, no babies at Rainbow Babies and Children's Hospital have died while at home waiting for their next procedure. Before the app, that number was as high as 15% nationwide. That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. We'll be right back. Coming up, wait times at your local hospital ER increase. Find out what's behind the change. And a U.S. Congressman pushes for more medical residency programs in the 4 states. Also, as cases of the Delta variant surge, Americans reevaluate their travel plans.
The 4 states most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 5:30. I'm Tanya Bach. We've got a little rain in our forecast today, but don't get worried. Michael Hayslip joins us with the first look at the forecast.
Looking good so far, and that's because everything down to the south has really had yet to make its northerly push. And so while it dominates Texas, Oklahoma, and Arkansas, we've been all right. As a matter of fact, you get on this dividing line of that cloud cover, it's actually going to be a beautiful morning, and then they've got some thunderstorm activity pushing east of the Ozarks on the other side of Branson. Current conditions over 7th and Rangeline in Joplin, where we find ourselves an hour and 4 minutes away from sunrise. We'll call it 6:37 on this Wednesday, August the 18th. Where we sit at 69 degrees, and look at that humidity. That's what we've been anticipating here past couple of days, as it's going to increase each morning. Everywhere from about 67 to 70. Not a whole lot of variation. Even where we see the cloud cover down to the south, still 69 in Neosho and Anderson, 70 in Chanute and Parsons, and let's roll 68 in Miami and in Grove. Other than those systems we were talking about coming out of Texas, Oklahoma, and Arkansas, right-hand portion of your screen, that is the old tropical system known as Fred, now pushing rain from North Carolina up to Vermont. So still impressive in geographic scope, and then very dry with the elevated fire conditions out west. Our weather trend in the 4 states. We'll go mid 80 today. Clouds going to help us out a little bit, and then once we get past the noon hour, we'll start south of I-44, creep our way up to the northern portion of the 4 states, and then get a break about sunset. Thursday's a little bit different. Thursday we want to start earlier and a little bit more widespread. Nothing organized, but that's some pretty good rain bands right there for Thursday evening, and then clearing out. Also, Thursday is going to be just a touch warmer. So will Friday, so will Saturday, so will Sunday. Maybe by the time Monday and Tuesday roll around, we don't notice it's 94, 95. Maybe if Mother Nature does it 1 degree at a time. Just kind of fools us each afternoon.
Break us in easy, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that would be nice. All right, thanks, Michael. Well, the average daily number of new COVID cases within the city of Joplin is down, but those numbers are still up across the region, putting a strain on Joplin hospitals, and that's leading to an increased wait time at the emergency room. KOAM's Chris Warner spoke with Mercy Joplin about what they're seeing.
Wait times at ERs are never fun, and when you're not feeling well, they seem to last forever. However, due to the increase in regional COVID cases, that's led to a noticeable increase in local ER wait times.
2 years ago, our wait times were under 20 minutes, and that's the average, coming in the ER. In the last 6 months, we're 65 minutes or longer. So that's more than tripling your wait times in the ER.
Rhonda Schmidt-O'Toole is the Director of Emergency Services for Mercy Joplin. She says wait times to get into a room in the ER aren't the only increase. If you need to be admitted to the hospital, expect to wait longer.
It used to be you got admitted, we had a bed open upstairs, and we sent you upstairs. Now the average wait time for my patients waiting for beds is about 250 to 300 minutes. So that's about 3 or 4 hours that we're waiting for a bed upstairs. And like I said, sometimes that goes much longer into 12, 16 hours.
Schmidt-O'Toole says they've made a few changes to procedures in the ER to help speed things up a bit.
We've started processes of drawing labs and doing x-rays and things like that while people are in triage waiting to get into a room, trying to at least get the treatment started. And so then expediting that care once they get to the room.
While a wait of any kind can be frustrating, Schmidt-O'Toole says, be patient.
I know people are frustrated. It is not our desire to make anyone wait. They're not waiting because we're not working hard or we don't want to see them. And the reality is, if you feel you have a need to come to the emergency room, we want you here. We want to be able to evaluate you and make sure that you're safe to go home if you can, or get you the treatment that you need.
In Joplin, Chris Warner, KOAM News.
Officials with Mercy, McCune, Brooks, and Carthage say they've also seen a significant increase in their wait times. U.S. Congressman Billy Long stopped in Joplin yesterday to talk health care with leaders at Freeman Hospital. The congressman visited the Ozark Center to discuss the need for medical residency programs in rural areas like the 4 states.
Well, Kathy McMorris Rogers has a bill right now in front of Congress. She's the ranking member on Energy and Commerce, my committee. I'm on the Healthcare Subcommittee. And so I'm going to talk to Kathy first thing Monday morning when we get back out to D.C. and find out exactly what her program does. And one thing that we did in Congress that was good, there's a lot of things we do that isn't good, but one of the things that we did do was good before COVID was we put funding out there for mental health and for telehealth.
Congressman Long is running for U.S. Senate. He's looking to replace outgoing Republican Senator Roy Blunt in a race that currently includes former Missouri Governor Eric Greitens. The 100 Women Who Care organization representing Jasper and Newton counties presents a donation to the Loving Grace organization. Loving Grace helps young mothers and their children with transitional housing. A check of more than $3,000 will be used to buy beds.
We give them those skills that they need to live on their own, such as helping them find a job, finish education, help them to develop any kind of budgeting skills, and how to manage a home, how to keep a space clean, how to care for a child. And so we teach them all the skills while they're living here, and then we help them to move out into the community and live on their own after that.
Many of the young women in Loving Grace have aged out of the foster care system, are homeless, or have limited support systems. That's a look at our top news stories. Coming up this half hour on the KOAM Morning News, the latest from Afghanistan as the Biden administration says it has assurances from the Taliban for the safe passage of Americans traveling to Afghanistan's international airport for evacuation. Plus, caught on camera, an Amazon truck driver tries and fails to make his own exit off an interstate in Texas. But first, it's 5:37.
Oh, insert punchline about Texas drivers here. I hear you, 4 states. I hear you. Partly cloudy afternoon with scattered showers that move in from the south. Temperatures in the mid-80s overnight. A break from the rain before we reemerge for Thursday morning. Thursday's rain going to be more widest spread rain that we've had this week. And remember, we're headed toward the 90s for the weekend. We'll be back with World Watch next.
Topping World Watch in Afghanistan, the challenge of evacuating thousands of Americans and Afghan allies is at the forefront. The Taliban says it will allow people to get safely to Kabul's airport. But U.S. citizens say that's not what they're experiencing. CBS's Deborah Alfarone is on Capitol Hill with more.
President Biden returned to the White House from Camp David, declining to comment on the situation in Afghanistan. The State Department says it has communicated with the first group of Americans who need to evacuate the country.
Our team is working hand in glove with military colleagues to help load planes safely and securely and as fast as possible.
But several Americans tell CBS News it's been too unsafe to get to Kabul's airport. The White House says at least 11,000 Americans are in Afghanistan and want to come home.
We are in contact with the Taliban to ensure the safe passage of people to the airport.
A Taliban spokesman held the group's first news conference since taking over the country, trying to convince the world they will not oppress the people of Afghanistan as they did 20 years ago.
Members of Congress continue to criticize President Biden for the withdrawal of U.S. troops and the lack of a better plan to get Americans out.
To provide no transitional support for our Afghan partners. This is an unforced error.
Veterans are also struggling with the events of the past couple days.
What do? We gave them the country. We said, here's the key. Come on in, guys. Now that's really what we did. And the disaster is unfolding before us right now.
The Air Force is investigating Monday's incident when hundreds rushed a departing military jet on the tarmac, and at least 4 people were killed. The Pentagon expects more U.S. troops on the ground today and eventually one charter flight taking off every hour. Deborah Alfarone, CBS News, Washington.
White House says 1,100 families were flown out today. Well, actually yesterday on 13 flights. 3,200 people have been evacuated so far. That's a look at one of the biggest headlines from around the world. Let's toss it over to Michael for our Something to Talk About.
Thank you, Tanya. This morning on the KOAM News Now Facebook page and our morning Insta poll, a wave of COVID cancellations. After a rebound in travel this summer, people are once again canceling plans for trips because of the surging number of COVID cases. Get this, in a recent survey, you've got, how many, go back, what would that say, Marcus? How many percent respond? 27%. 27% say they postponed a trip, and more than 54% said the Delta variant has made them less interested in traveling right now. And there's also been a 30% increase in people buying cancelable tickets. All right, so that brings us to our Something to Talk About question. Specifically, has the Delta variant affected your upcoming travel plans? And early leader in the clubhouse is yes. The Delta variant has played a role in what you plan on doing and going here at the upcoming fall, with 65% of you saying yes compared to 35% that say no. You can join in on the poll and make your voice heard. KOAMnewsnow.com/vote or connect to us via our Facebook page at KOAM News Now. We'll be back with the news you need to know before you head out the door right after this.
Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. The White House says thousands of Americans remain in Afghanistan waiting to get out. 1,100 U.S. citizens, permanent residents, and their families were evacuated yesterday. The Taliban says it's willing to allow people to get safely to Kabul's airport. But CBS News has learned several Americans have encountered dangerous conditions while trying to make it there. The average daily number of new COVID cases within the city of Joplin is down, but those numbers are still up across the region, putting a strain on Joplin hospitals. That's leading to an increased wait time in the emergency room. Officials with Mercy Joplin say average ER wait times have nearly tripled in the last 6 months. To help offset that increase, the ER has made a few changes to procedures, like drawing labs while patients are still in the triage area waiting for a room. Doctors warn people not to use a horse dewormer to treat COVID-19. Ivermectin, an antiparasitic, has gained popularity on social media as a potential treatment for COVID-19. And now farm stores are seeing increased demand for the version that's used to treat worms in livestock. The FDA says that version could be very harmful or deadly because of the high dosage that's given to animals. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
Watch a little bit of the rain move in from the south. It's yet to make an appearance here on the Wednesday morning, but as we get into the mid-morning hours, everything's going to arrive from Arkansas and Oklahoma. It's going to make a little northerly push into the far southern area of the 4 states, so it'll begin south of I-44. Peak heating hours, only around, say, 85, 86 degrees. So temperature-wise, not going to be too bad, but you're also going to notice an increase in the humidity as we're sitting at 90% right now. Getting closer to sunset tonight, we get a break from the rain, but Thursday we actually begin a little bit earlier. Kind of illustrate that through Future Track. There we are moving up this afternoon, mainly, like I said, through southwest Missouri to begin with. And then there's our break. Now Thursday, everything once again from the south, but much more widespread. That's why our chances for rain on Thursday are all the way up to 60%. Look at the incremental jump up we have in the temperatures each and every day. We're going to be into the 90s by the weekend, and then next week we are staring the mid-90s in the face once again. We'll be back with more KOAM Morning News right after this.
Well, an Amazon semi-driver decided to make his own exit off an interstate in Texas, and it didn't go so well. Jeannie Moose reports on the shortcut that went wrong.
It's enough to get a chuckle out of even an Amazon package. There on Interstate 45 headed to Dallas, an Amazon tractor trailer cut across the grass to get out of a traffic jam caused by an accident, headed for a service road. Cammie Hardman recorded the scene, which she called wild.
I was pretty amazed. I really didn't expect it to make it through, but somehow he did.
The Amazon truck wasn't the first to attempt the shortcut, and others followed the tractor trailer across the grass.
We were dying laughing. I kind of started singing the TikTok song, the Jeff Bezos one.
Jeffrey Bezos, come on Jeffrey, you can do it. Pave the way, put your back into it.
It's the song comedian-musician Bo Burnham performed in his Netflix special Inside.
Come on Jeffrey, you can do it.
It's become an anthem for mocking Amazon's founder, creators adding it to TikTok videos showing an Amazon delivery van braving floodwaters in Michigan that sidelined other vehicles.
Jeffrey Bezos.
Or an Amazon worker delivering packages in the midst of homes damaged by a tornado outside Chicago. TikTokers reacted to the truck crossing the grass with comments like, "That next day delivery ain't no joke." Amazon itself told CNN, "Safety is our top priority, and this does not reflect the high standards we have for our transportation service providers." People kept asking Cammie, "Why are you driving on the shoulder?"
We were doing that because we were also going to follow the Amazon truck.
Which she and her boyfriend did. As one poster noted, "Looks like a normal day in Texas. We make our own exits." But in this case, it was an exit to nowhere.
The service road actually had a dead end.
So the Amazon truck ended up stuck in another traffic jam. Nothing prime about that shortcut.
Look at where you came from, look at you now.
Jeannie Moose, CNN, New York.
Yeah, there's the kicker. The service exit was a dead end.
That dude was probably, or dudette, whoever was driving that truck, They probably had 8 different things on their mind: deliveries, exits, and we don't know what's going on with the truck. I'm more worried about the person that followed them.
Like, well, he's doing it. He's paving the way. I can make it. It wasn't a 4-wheel drive vehicle either.
I guarantee that dude that followed him didn't have Texas plates on. That is true by Jeannie Most, by the way. We will make our own exits, turn lanes, etc. And you
pull over to let people pass.
I've always said that if you get 100 Texas drivers on an interstate, you will not have any worries in your life, because everybody knows what everybody's going to do. It's when you start interjecting out-of-staters, that's when things get nasty.
Michael, I lived in Texas for 2 years, and I thought Texas drivers were very courteous.
They are.
Mm-hmm.
They are. Except when you're coming out of a merge lane and the old Texas turn, where you go, 5 lanes. But when you're coming behind and you see the person come off, you go, hey, they're going to go 5 lanes. That's cool. I know what's going on. All right, Tanya, on the KOAM News Now Instagram page, we've got our updated weather forecast for this Wednesday. This is the same one that you're going to find on the Skywatch weather app, and you can also find it by going to Michael Hayslip, KOAM. Just a little quick hitter. Try to keep it down to 30 to 45 seconds each and every morning for what you can expect during the course of your work/school day. Then on the KOAM News Now Facebook page, our morning Insta poll. COVID-19, the Delta variant, is it changing your travel plans? And right now, 56% of you say yes, it has. And we've seen that yes percentage come down a little bit, but it still is our leader here as we approach the 6 o'clock hour. You can make your voice heard by going to KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. We'll be back right after this. Afternoon scattered rainfall with temperatures up into the mid-80s for Wednesday. Thursday morning, we start with our rain again, this time a little bit more widespread, and then the 90s are headed our way by the weekend. We'll be back right after this.
Coming up, wait times at your local hospital ER increase. Find out what's behind the change. And a battle over COVID relief spending brews between the Kansas governor and Republican lawmakers. Also, as cases of the Delta variant surge, Americans reevaluate their travel plans.
The 4 states most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 6 a.m. I'm Tanya Bach. We've got rain in the forecast, but don't cancel your plans just yet. Michael Hayslip joins us for the first look at the forecast.
We looked out with the community fair at PSU yesterday, and all plans are a go to go ahead and host Missouri Southern's community fair outside today. That'll be there at the Oval at Missouri Southern, going from 10 to 1, and I hope we're going to be okay, because I gave him a thumbs up yesterday. Delightful young gentleman that I was working with as well. Kudos to everybody out at Missouri Southern for organizing that. Skywatch storm tracker with a little light cloud cover dividing south of I-44. Everybody else in the clear. And speaking of the clear, all the rain staying down in eastern Oklahoma, western Arkansas right now. And it'll stay there for several more hours. 70 degrees over Joplin, so just a little bit of a bump up from where we were when we started the show. 68 in Miami, 69 in Chanute, and lesser old 68 in Monette. Nationally speaking, still have the elevated fire concerns out to the west. We talked about what's coming out of Texas and the Gulf that affects us, and still got Fred with flash flood warnings stretching from North Carolina up to Vermont is how extensive that is for today. He's moving at 25 miles per hour, so hopefully we can get him out of here quickly. Weather trend for us, mid-80s today. Not a whole lot of difference from yesterday, and that's because it will be mostly cloudy skies. As that rain begins to move in from the south, it starts south of I-44 before it has a little northerly creep to it. And then as we push towards sunset, we get a break before Thursday morning. Now, Thursday morning, we do start a little earlier, and it's more widespread as well. That'll actually be our best shot for everybody picking up some rain will be Thursday. Slowly creeping up into the 90s by the weekend, and then looking at mid-90s by next week.
Like you said, hopefully we can ease into that and not have such a drastic...
Degree by degree. You won't even know the difference.
Enjoy these 80s while they last this week.
We'll know the difference by the time we get to next week.
Yeah, probably so.
Trust me.
Thanks, Michael. Well, top Republican lawmakers in Kansas accused Democratic Governor Laura Kelly's administration of illegally spending at least $86 million in federal COVID-19 relief funds by not getting their approval first. Governor Kelly's office did not respond to the letter from Senate President Ty Masterson, House Speaker Ron Rickman Jr., and the House and Senate Budget Committee chairs. In the letter, the lawmakers threatened to explore filing a lawsuit if the governor does not change course. Republicans say a budget measure requires legislative leaders' consent for any spending of relief dollars starting July 1st. Kelly's office contends agencies already have the authority to spend relief funds. While the daily average of COVID cases may be down in the Joplin area, regional cases are still impacting Joplin hospitals, which in turn has led to an increase in ER wait times. Officials with Mercy Joplin say average ER wait times have nearly tripled in the last 6 months. To help offset that increase, the ER has made a few changes to procedures, like drawing labs while patients are still in the triage area waiting for a room. Officials say the most important thing to remember is despite the wait, they're still here to help.
I know people are frustrated. It is not our desire to make anyone wait. They're not waiting because we're not working hard or we don't want to see them. And the reality is, if you feel you have a need to come to the emergency room, we want you here. We want to be able to evaluate you and make sure that you're safe to go home if you can, or get you the treatment that you need.
Officials say increases in wait times to be admitted to the hospital from the ER have also happened. Times to get from the ER to a hospital room can be upwards of 4 hours or more. Pitt State hosts its community fair. The event yesterday was for new and returning students, helping them learn more about the community and what local businesses have to offer. Vendors from the area set up booths on the oval.
Help continue to strengthen the relationship between Pitt State and the local community. A lot of our students didn't necessarily get as much opportunity to interact last year, so this has been a really good step forward with that, particularly this fall as we have new and returning students.
Last year's PSU Community Fair was canceled, so organizers say this year's get-together was all the more fun. Well, as the school year starts, KOAM is listening to your questions and getting answers from local education and health experts. You can submit questions on our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. And while you're there, check out previous stories we've covered concerning getting back to school safely. Again, that's at KOAMnewsnow.com. 6:07.
All right, Tanya, let's say 80s by the noon hour, but noon hour is going to be once again that dividing line where we see the rain begin to move up from the south. There's good what's called lift coming out of the humidity and also to the scattered rain showers that they currently have in Oklahoma and Arkansas, and that's why everything will start south of I-44. Get a break overnight, and then Thursday a little bit more widespread rain. And we will see a little northerly push on our precip for Wednesday afternoon and evening. Then we should be done by sunset. But now watch Thursday, especially through southeast Kansas where it wants to start. And then we get a little bit more widespread with some nice looking bands right there that could bring us anywhere from 1 to 1.5 inches of rain by the time that Thursday alone is done. Now, I know places like up in Bourbon County, Vernon County, even portions of Montgomery County got as much as 2 inches yesterday alone. And then some people didn't even see a raindrop. And then we begin our jaunt up to the 90s by the weekend.
Well, that's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, tips on going back to school prepared without breaking the budget.
This back-to-school shopping season is breaking records. I'm Jackie Ibanez with a look at how much money Americans are shelling out, plus tips on how you can help young kids readjust to being back in the classroom. Straight ahead.
Tired of waiting? Climate change activists are getting creative and taking matters into their own hands. And the latest on the possibility of booster shots as the Delta variant spreads. You're watching the KOAM Morning News, more real news in the morning. We'll be right back. Summertime spending lost steam last month. According to the Commerce Department, retail sales dropped 1.1% in July, and that was higher than expected. Consumers pulled back as concerns over the Delta variant spread and government stimulus subsided. Despite last month's drop, Walmart managed to turn in a better than expected quarterly report card. The world's largest retailer brought in more than $141 billion in revenue in the second quarter. Walmart says groceries and back-to-school shopping drove sales, along with items like party supplies and luggage, as families returned to some pre-pandemic activities. Well, Well, that back-to-school shopping could break your bank account. Jackie Ibanez has more on how much money experts predict Americans will spend this season and how to potentially avoid paying more than you need to.
If you're getting ready to do some back-to-school shopping, buyer beware, it'll cost you. The National Retail Federation says the average household will spend roughly $850 on supplies this year alone. But it doesn't mean folks are getting more bang for their buck.
An American family's purchasing power has shrunk. So right now prices are rising twice as fast as paychecks.
Rising inflation is having a serious impact on the price of many goods.
This has become the number one worry of families, but of small Main Street businesses as well.
And while Americans are expected to spend a collected $37 billion this school season, researchers say laptops, clothes, and shoes are the big hot ticket items. But with the pandemic impacting manufacturing centers, certain goods may be in limited supply. Experts say if you turn to online shopping, watch out for price gouging.
This is where the scammers are finding the opportunity. How can I make the most money off of this situation where people are at a disadvantage?
Meanwhile, psychologists say be on the lookout for signs your child may be exhibiting symptoms of anxiety, adding it could be difficult for young kids to readjust to in-person classes after learning remotely for so long.
These kids have not been around other kids. You know, it's almost like when a new child goes to daycare for the first time.
And when getting kids reacclimated to crowds, experts say start small by going to a restaurant or perhaps taking them back to school shopping with you. Jackie Ibanez, Fox News.
Well, as the school year starts, KOAM is listening to your questions and getting answers from local education and health experts. You can submit questions on our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. And while you're there, you can check out previous stories we've covered concerning getting back to school safely. Again, that's at KOAMnewsnow.com. Well, the Transportation Security Administration extends the federal transportation mask mandate into the middle of January. TSA made a public announcement on extending the requirement yesterday. The mandate was going to expire September 13th. The FAA says it's received upwards of 2,800 reports of passengers violating the mandate so far this year. As the Delta variant spreads, the National Park Service announces it's immediately enforcing new mask rules. Visitors, employees, and contractors are now required to wear masks inside all Park Service buildings and even in crowded outdoor spots. The rule applies regardless of a person's vaccination status or transmission levels within the community. Park Service says it's following the latest science and guidance from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. That's it for Consumer Watch. We'll be right back.
Clock is ticking as many say time to save the planet from irreversible damage created by climate change is running out. Federal officials in the United States taking desperate measures to combat severe drought out west, as Kevin Cork shows us how other people are tackling global warming in some very unique ways.
The latest UN climate report says the planet is getting too hot too fast. And new data from NOAA confirms this, with researchers saying last month was the hottest July ever recorded.
There's no doubt that climate change is real. We're experiencing it every day.
No place is feeling the heat quite like the southwest U.S., where historic drought conditions are drying up major reservoirs, prompting the federal government to slash water designated for farmers in Arizona and Nevada.
We must adapt to the new reality of a warmer, drier future.
Meanwhile, as the climate crisis worsens, activists around the globe are done waiting for their leaders to enact policy changes. Folks like Lucas Janssens are taking matters into their own hands. The 24-year-old from Belgium became a shepherd and uses his sheep instead of gas-guzzling landscaping machines to mow properties across his town.
If you would use mowers, cranes, or threshers, you would have enormous emissions.
Janssens' flock of more than 200 sheep help provide a much-needed service without releasing carbon dioxide, which, as you probably know, contributes to global warming. It's a small act, admittedly, but this shepherd knows his work has the potential to inspire global change. And that global change could be coming soon. The U.S. is expected to take part in the UN Climate Summit this November, where nations from around the globe will assess, then address their environmental impacts. In Washington, I'm Kevin Cork, Fox News.
So coming off of what Kevin was saying there with the drought monitor, this is updated every Thursday. Look west of the Rockies right there, as it's dominated by the exceptional and extreme categories. If we were to take a look at the 4 states here, because of our rain, and you have to remember, a drought monitor is one of those that's not really an indicator of just how much rain you've had recently. So if we go back to last year, that was near record setting for the first 5-6 months of 2020, and combo it with what we have right here, we've actually been able to stay out of any type of drought according to NOAA. Now, with that being said, our annual precipitation so far this year, about 30 inches. Well, guess what? That's about 3/10 of an inch off from our historical norm. So absolutely no difference. However, at this point in time last year, we'd picked up about 4.8 more inches of rain compared to what we would historically see. Look at that gorgeous sight right there over 7th and Range Line. What a wonderful Wednesday morning. And so far, all the rain has stayed down to the south and to the east of us, as we have been good to go. Back to 7th and Range Line for our current conditions, where we sit at a comfortable 70 degrees in Joplin, with everything from 67 to about 70. Let's roll 68s in Miami and Pittsburgh, 70 in Carthage, and also in Parsons. Now, we talked about the west, we talked about the south. Let's talk about the east, because that's where we've got the post-cyclone Fred dropping huge amounts of rain all the way from still North Carolina up to Vermont. And that's exactly where we see the flash flood warnings in effect as well until, it'll probably last until tomorrow there. And that's also where we see our greatest risk for severe thunderstorms on this Wednesday. Oh, by the way, we're still tracking Grace, tropical storm down on the southern coast of Cuba right now, expected to become a hurricane as it approaches the Yucatan Peninsula, and Henri sitting out there in the Atlantic, still a tropical storm, not yet a hurricane. Here in the 4 states, temperatures up into the mid-80s. We'll have some rain that will show up here a little bit after the noon hour, move in from the south, begin south of I-44 before making it north into the evening. Widespread rain on Thursday, hot over the weekend. We'll be back with Healthwatch next.
Topping Healthwatch this morning, Americans could soon be lining up for a 3rd COVID-19 shot. The White House COVID response team will meet today to discuss the possibility of booster shots as the Delta variant spreads. Jonathan Siri has the latest.
Another COVID-19 shot is likely on the way for millions of Americans. The Biden administration is expected to recommend booster doses for most vaccinated people 8 months after their second shot. Nursing home residents and healthcare workers are likely to be first in line, but the shots would not be widely distributed until the FDA formally approves COVID-19 vaccine boosters. Last week, health officials recommended boosters for some people with weakened immune systems.
If you're receiving medicines that hold your immune system down, then you're not going to get the benefit from those vaccines, or it's just not going to last as long.
State and local leaders are still in a race to get people vaccinated as the Delta variant spreads. In New York City, an indoor COVID vaccine mandate started today for entertainment venues, gyms, and restaurants. Mayor Bill de Blasio says people will have to show proof they've received at least 1 vaccine dose.
This is a way we all keep moving forward together. This is a way we stay healthy. This is a way we bring back our city fully.
Meanwhile, states with low vaccination rates are seeing a spike in infections among children. Last week, children accounted for about 18% of new cases nationwide, and health experts fear the surge could worsen as a new school year begins.
I am extremely fearful of what's to come. The way to keep kids safe is through vaccination, and the kids that are eligible for vaccinated should get vaccinated.
Public health officials say children are still less likely to develop severe symptoms from COVID-19. In Atlanta, Jonathan Siri, Fox News.
Doctors warn against taking a horse dewormer as a COVID treatment. Ivermectin, an anti-parasitic often used to deworm horses, has gained popularity on social media as a possible treatment for COVID-19. There's also a pill version of the drug that is FDA approved for certain conditions. However, the FDA says it has not reviewed data to support use of the drug in prevention of COVID-19. The FDA and doctors warn against using the version formulated for horses. The federal agency has already received reports of people hospitalized after using the livestock version.
It is a nerve active agent, which means that it actually works on parasites by paralyzing their muscles. And like in worms, the muscles that help them swallow. So it is in very large doses, it can be potentially neurotoxic.
Coming up on the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14, we hear from a local feed store owner who says the product is disappearing from her store shelves. Well, there's new evidence the loss of a certain hormone during pregnancy directly impacts a child's brain development. A study in mice found that reducing the amount of a hormone found in the placenta causes changes in male offspring that resemble changes seen in some people with autism spectrum disorder. Researchers also found that the changes could be prevented with a single injection of the hormone in late pregnancy. Men who suffer from severe pelvic pain and inflammation of the prostate gland may want to consider acupuncture. Researchers in China found patients who received the treatment reported improvements in their symptoms compared to patients who received more traditional therapy. That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
So far, we're staying on the dry side on this Wednesday morning, subject to change here as we approach the noon hour. Scattered rain will make its way. Begin in the southern portion of southwest Missouri, creeping up from Arkansas. Temperatures in the mid-80s, so that's not going to be too bad. Thanks in part to some additional cloud cover. Very clear and beautiful right now, but we're going to grow some clouds here this afternoon. Overnight, push towards sunset, scattered rain is done, but then on Thursday morning, we're going to get a little bit more widespread. So let's advance future track to tomorrow, see what we've got in store here. As it once again moves up from the south, and we get some bands of pretty heavy rain in there, and then 90s by the weekend.
Coming up, wait times at your local hospital ER increase. Find out what's behind the change. And a U.S. Congressman pushes for more medical residency programs in the 4 states. Also, as cases of the Delta variant surge, Americans reevaluate their travel plans.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 6:30. I'm Tanya Bach. We've got rain in the forecast today, but it shouldn't be too much of a problem. All right, Michael joining us with the first look.
Especially when we compare it here to what we'll see on Thursday. Thursday, if you've got outdoor plans on Thursday, that's going to be a little bit of a change. But we lucked out, and you and I were talking about the PSU Community Fair. That turned out perfectly. Missouri Southern has its today from 10 to 1 there on the campus. So make sure you check that out. And really, I think we'll be good during that 10 to 1 time frame as far as getting out unscathed. Live look outside of Television City. Gorgeous, gorgeous start. And there we are over 7th and Range Line, where we sit at 70 degrees. Humidity, you'll notice that, up to 90%. Whole lot of high 60s, low 70s. Really no worries temperature-wise. And no worries rain-wise so far, as everything has stayed down to the south and to the east of us. And not only that, it keeps on moving from west to east. We've yet to see the northerly push. Hot out to the west, to the east. Yep, there's Fred, now a low-pressure system. But still, torrential rainfall and flash flooding concerns all the way up to the northeastern portion of the United States. Our temperatures will be in the mid-80s later on, thanks in part to growing cloud cover and partly cloudy skies. Talk about our rain. There's our northerly push. Comes this afternoon, starts south of I-44 before it makes it into the northern half of the 4 states. Out west into the farther north, staying dry, except look at what happens on Thursday. Then we kind of flip it around Thursday morning. Now we're going to go, okay, Wes, you can start with the rain, and then we'll spread it into the central and eastern parts. That's why I was saying Thursday is a little bit different when we come to rain chances. We're going to bump that up to 60%. And temperature-wise, 90s are coming.
It's coming back, the heat.
Mother Nature's like, 90s are coming. You tell them I'm coming, and I'm bringing heat with me. No, that's Tombstone.
Okay. Man, we don't need.
I just substituted one word for heat.
That works. All right, moving along. The average daily number of new COVID cases within the city of Joplin is down, but those numbers are still up across the region, putting a strain on Joplin hospitals. And that's leading to an increased wait time at the emergency room. KOAM's Chris Warner spoke with Mercy Joplin about what they're seeing.
Wait times at ERs are never fun, and when you're not feeling well, they seem to last forever. However, due to the increase in regional COVID cases, that's led to a noticeable increase in local ER wait times.
2 years ago, our wait times were under 20 minutes, and that's the average, coming in the ER. In the last 6 months, we're 65 minutes or longer. So that's more than tripling your wait times in the ER.
Rhonda Schmidt-O'Toole is the Director of Emergency Services for Mercy Joplin. She says wait times to get into a room in the ER aren't the only increase. If you need to be admitted to the hospital, expect to wait longer.
It used to be you got admitted, we had a bed open upstairs, and we sent you upstairs. Now the average wait time for my patients waiting for beds is about 250 to 300 minutes. So that's about 3 or 4 hours that we're waiting for a bed upstairs. And like I said, sometimes that goes much longer, into 12, 16 hours.
Schmidt-O'Toole says they've made a few changes to procedures in the ER to help speed things up a bit.
We've started processes of drawing labs and doing x-rays and things like that while people are in triage waiting to get into a room, trying to at least get the treatment started. And so then expediting that care once they get to the room.
While a wait of any kind can be frustrating, Schmidt-O'Toole says, be patient.
I know people are frustrated. It is not our desire to make anyone wait. They're not waiting because we're not working hard or we don't want to see them. And the reality is, if you feel you have a need to come to the emergency room, we want you here. We want to be able to evaluate you and make sure that you're safe to go home if you can, or get you the treatment that you need.
In Joplin, Chris Warner, KOAM News.
Officials with Mercy McCune Brooks in Carthage say they've also seen a significant increase in their wait times. Missouri ranks 4th in the nation in COVID-19 deaths per capita, and that's according to recent data from the CDC. The state health department says of 124 deaths reported on Tuesday, 86 were discovered in the department's weekly examination of death certificates from across the state. One of those deaths was in June, 52 in July, and 33 earlier this month. 38 of the deaths were new, an unusually high one-day total. We've lost 2 more people in Joplin to COVID-19. The Joplin Health Department reports 2 men, ages 60 and 87, have died with the virus. The latest deaths bring the city's total to 155. U.S. Congressman in Joplin yesterday to talk health care with leaders at Freeman Hospital. The congressman visited the Ozark Center to discuss the need for medical residency programs in rural areas like the 4 states.
Well, Kathy McMorris Rogers has a bill right now in front of Congress. She's the ranking member on Energy and Commerce, my committee. I'm on the healthcare subcommittee. And so I'm going to talk to Kathy first thing Monday morning when we get back out to D.C. and find out exactly what her program does. And one thing that we did in Congress that was good, there's a lot of things we do that isn't good, but one of the things that we did do was good before COVID was we put funding out there for mental health and for telehealth.
Congressman Long is running for U.S. Senate. He's looking to replace outgoing Republican Senator Roy Blunt in a race that currently includes former Missouri Governor Eric Greitens. The 100 Women Who Care organization representing Jasper and Newton counties presents a donation to the Loving Grace organization. Loving Grace helps young mothers and their children with transitional housing. The check of more than $3,000 will be used to buy beds.
We give them those skills that they need to live on their own, such as helping them find a job, finish education, help them to develop any kind of budgeting skills, and how to manage a home, how to keep a space clean, how to care for a child. And so we teach them all the skills while they're living here, and then we help them to move out into the community and live on their own after that.
Many of the young women in Loving Grace have aged out of the foster care system, are homeless, or have limited support systems. That's a look at our top news stories. Coming up this half hour on the KOAM Morning News, Fred causing damage.
Storm Fred will bring heavy rainfall and the possibility of tornadoes in the southeast after making landfall in Florida. I'm Alex Hogan in New York. I'll have details on this story coming up.
Second largest city issues a mask mandate for outdoor events. And the Delta variant, has it affected your upcoming travel plans? We let you weigh in, but first, it's 6:37.
Coming off what Alex was just telling us, give you an idea exactly where Fred is sitting here at the 6:30 hour, low pressure system and causing torrential rain and massive flooding. Us in the 4 states, we'll pick up some afternoon scattered showers that'll move in from the south. Temperatures mid-80s, that's not too bad. Widespread rain on Thursday and 90s by the weekend. We'll be back with Nation Watch next.
Within one.
Topping Nation Watch this morning, Storm Fred is expected to unleash heavy rainfall and gusty winds across a large part of the southeast. Alex Hogan takes us to Florida for the latest.
Tropical storm Fred made landfall on Monday in the Florida Panhandle, bringing heavy rainfall and high surf to parts of the Sunshine State. The storm has weakened since then, but the threat for tornadoes remains for parts of Georgia and the Carolinas. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis says the state emergency personnel are standing by to assist residents affected by the storm.
We are working with them, and that's an area of the state, as many of you know, that got hit by Hurricane Michael a few years ago, did extensive damage. While this is not a Michael-type storm in terms of wind, that part of Florida, and actually many parts of Florida, have been getting a lot of rain, so there's a lot of saturation.
Residents of the Florida Keys are cleaning up after Fred passed just west of the island chain. The storm unleashing wind gusts up to 40 miles per hour, but the area was spared from the worst effects.
I've lived here 44 years, so this was a small one. I'm more worried about the next one.
Gotcha. Did you guys prepare at all with this one? For
This one, no. Moved us a few things downstairs.
Meanwhile, Tropical Storm Grace leaving its mark in parts of the Caribbean. Mudslides and flash flooding have been reported in Jamaica, western Cuba, and in Haiti. This comes as Haitians reel from a devastating 7.2 magnitude earthquake that jolted the nation over the weekend. Storm Fred will weaken, but could bring several inches of rain to the mid-Atlantic and the Northeast later this week. Grace, on the other hand, is expected to strengthen into a hurricane before making landfall along the Yucatan Peninsula. In New York, Alex Hogan, Fox News.
CBS News has learned the Biden administration will recommend COVID booster shots for Americans who received Moderna and Pfizer vaccines. They'll be available starting 8 months after recipients were fully vaccinated. They could begin as early as next month if the FDA grants approval. A new order from Los Angeles County. Everyone attending big outdoor events with thousands of people must wear a mask. That includes sporting events at Dodger Stadium. Def Nugent has reaction from fans in Hollywood.
Step into Dodger Stadium and things will look very different after Thursday. That's when fans like Miguel Salas and his family will have to mask up whether they're vaccinated for COVID-19 or not.
Been a little frustration, I wish we could all just take that step forward so we could all be in this together.
Salas says he's vaccinated, and the return of a mask mandate at mega outdoor events with 10,000 people wouldn't happen if more people were inoculated. The most recent data shows about 67% of LA County's eligible population is vaccinated.
Welcome to the World Trade.
In Pasadena, that number is about 83%. But the city's epidemiologist says the Delta variant has upended things.
Big picture, this is about a layered approach, and one of the things that we really do know is the efficacy of the mask.
The Hollywood Bowl says it will follow the guidelines set by the county. Fans can take off their masks while eating and drinking.
So I think it's an easy thing to do to wear a mask.
I think that we're outside, so I don't think we should have to wear a mask.
In LA County, more than 1 million kids are under the age of 12, which means they are not eligible for vaccination, like Miguel Salas' son.
Because we have to be a little bit more careful about what we do, where we go with him, make sure he doesn't get sick in any way, shape, or form.
Well, that's a look at today's top national stories. Let's check back in with Michael for something to talk about.
Thank you, Tanya. This morning on the KOAM News Now Facebook page and the Morning Insta Poll, a new wave of COVID cancellations. After a rebound in travel this summer, people are once again canceling plans for trips because of the surging number of COVID cases. In a recent survey, 27% of the respondents said they postponed a trip. More than 54% said the Delta variant has made them less interested in travel right now. Then you've got a 30% increase in people buying cancelable tickets. As far as our question to you, asking, has the Delta variant affected your upcoming travel plans? Yes is barely hanging on right now, but still leading at 53% compared to 47% that say no. Has not changed what you want to do this fall. All you have to do is log on to KOAMnewsnow.com/vote, or you can connect to us through our Facebook page at KOAM News Now. We'll be back with birthdays and anniversaries next.
We take this time to honor today's four-state hero, Sergeant Harry Van Dorn in the U.S. Army. A liberal Missouri native fought in Korea with the 7th Infantry Regiment, 3rd Division. He earned the Korean Service Medal, the Bronze Service Star, and the United Nations Service Medal. To Sergeant Harry Van Dorn, we thank you, our four-state hero.
Thomas Wood Clark. Back to school time for Thomas Wood, and guess what? I bet you the classmates are anticipating wishing him a happy birthday because he's turning the big number 6 in St. Paul. Happy birthday, kiddo.
All right. In Frontenac, Miss Alexa Schropp celebrating birthday number 7. Looks like she's had a little beach time.
We got a dual celebration here with the Hickson family. We'll start with Joseph as he celebrates his 31st birthday. Now, sometimes, you know when your own birthday is, but if you ever reflect and you go, when do I need to call mom and dad to celebrate their anniversary? Well, Joseph knows when to do it because he does it on his birthday.
Nice.
There's Robert and Sheila Hickson. That's Joseph's mom or Joseph's mom and dad right there. Hang on. What's that sign Robert has? My eyesight's so bad, I got screwed
Happy
up.
36th anniversary, Grandpa and Grammy. 6 months old.
That is great. So we got new Hickson in the family. Well, congratulations. Happy birthday to you, Joseph. And make sure you give mom and dad a call. And congratulations to Robert and Sheila on 37 years. Now, Robert and Sheila, they celebrate in Fort Scott.
All right, that's a nice picture. Like it. Terry McInnes celebrating a birthday in Pittsburgh. Hope you have a great one, Terry.
And in Riverton, David and Dee Bond. Oh, look, that's a cool picture, man. I love that. Little Guns N' Roses concert, little I Love You, and celebrating their 32nd anniversary.
Nice.
Whichever one of you took the picture, that was well played right there. Congratulations to David and Dee in Riverton.
What if they were taking a picture of the kiss cam?
That was good.
Yeah, cool. All right, we've got Dale Purdy turning 66 years old this year. Taylor Darnell celebrating a 21st birthday, which was actually yesterday. And Taylor's our neighbor in Crestline.
Nancy Roughton, a happy birthday to you. Miss Nancy, she's in Columbus. And Patricia Cosby, she is celebrating her 83rd birthday. Patricia, have a marvelous, marvelous birthday, ma'am. Happy birthday, happy anniversary to all. Here's where you can send them into. Birthdays at KOAMTV.com, or you can also go online at KOAMnewsnow.com. Now, here's Tanya Bach with a very important birthday announcement.
That's right. You can be a part of the KOAM Birthday Club. All you have to do is go to our website and sign up, and you can get special deals from local businesses. Go to KOAMnewsnow.com and sign up for the KOAM Birthday Club today.
Gorgeous looking start outside of Television City. Can't beat that for the middle of August, and a very similar sight from 7th and Rangeline. It's the sun trying to get over the cloud. What was that little flash right there? Better not have a bug on that camera. Marcus, if we do, you're going to have to get the cherry picker, go up there and get it off. It's just part of the job. 70 degrees is where we stand right now. Humidity is sitting at 90%. It's going to be a little bit sticky this afternoon as the Gulf moisture will increase really throughout the rest of the week as well. Temperatures in between 66 in Iola and 72 in Bella Vista. Everybody else in between. 70 in Neosho, 68 in Miami, and 70 right now in Chanute. The Skywatch storm tracker has kept all the rain on this Wednesday morning down to our south and off to our east. In fact, we're already beginning to break up there in east central Oklahoma as the majority of it has now moved into western Arkansas. So we have not seen hardly any northerly lift this morning. What we do have from the national perspective is checking in on the post-tropical Fred, and still causing massive flooding concerns all the way up to the northeastern portion of the United States. Now we've got Tropical Storm Grace headed toward the Yucatan, and oh, by the way, we can now introduce the letter H, is Tropical Storm Henri. sitting out there in the Atlantic. It almost wants to take a U-turn here before it works into a Category 1 hurricane. Back in the 4 states, partly cloudy skies, temperatures in the mid-80s. Let's talk rain for today. We'll eventually get that northerly lift. Starts south of I-44. Not really here, though, in earnest until late morning and the afternoon. And then as we get towards sunset, there we go, we're about done. The clouds stick around. Thursday, we're going to get some more widespread rain and a little bit heavier rain as well. Everything south to north, same progression, and a 7-day forecast that very slowly inches us toward the 90s. Mother Nature just kind of like, hey, if I do it 1 degree at a time, will you all even notice? Well, we're going to notice by the time we get into next week and we got the mid-90s staring us in the face. We'll be back, wrap up this edition of the KOAM Morning News right after this. Final look at our Insta poll from this morning, asking if the Delta variant has affected upcoming travel plans. The yes is barely hanging on right now at 51%. Got 49% of you saying no, not going to play a role. I want to thank everybody for their engagement. Remember, we keep the poll open. We continue to update it, as we will do so as we transition over to Fox 14. So you've got plenty of time to jump on KOAMnewsnow.com/vote or connect to us via our Facebook page, KOAM News Now. Tanya?
All right, thanks, Michael. Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. The White House says thousands of Americans remain in Afghanistan waiting to get out. 1,100 U.S. citizens, permanent residents, and their families were evacuated yesterday. The Taliban says it's willing to allow people to get safely to Kabul's airport. The CBS News has learned several Americans have encountered dangerous conditions while trying to make it there. The average daily number of new COVID cases within the city of Joplin is down, but those numbers are still up across the region, putting a strain on Joplin hospitals. That's leading to an increased wait time in the emergency room. Officials with Mercy Joplin say average ER wait times have nearly tripled in the last 6 months. To help offset that increase, the ER has made a few changes to procedures, like drawing labs while patients are still in the triage area waiting for a room. Doctors warn people not to use a horse dewormer to treat COVID-19. Ivermectin, an antiparasitic, has gained popularity on social media as a potential treatment for COVID-19. And now farm stores are seeing increased demand for the version that's used to treat worms in livestock. The FDA says that version could be very harmful or deadly because of the high dosage that's given to animals. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
Yeah, don't do horse drugs. How about that? Straight from the Skywatch Weather Center. All right, the afternoon planner with mostly cloudy skies. Temperatures in the mid-80s. Afternoon and evening showers. Nothing organized nor severe. Get a little harder rain, though, by the time we get into Thursday. Begins Thursday morning and then Thursday afternoon. We're throwing up a little orange and red in there on future track. 7-day forecast slowly creeping up to the 90s by the weekend.
Well, coming up today at noon, we're making a good old tuna noodle casserole in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
Of course, your morning news continues on KOAM, CBS Morning News. That's coming up next.
Or you can switch on over with us on Fox 14, where your only local morning news continues.
And coming off of that story that Tanya just let us know about with the horse drug, about the worms and parasites, we actually are going to talk to a four-state
feed store.
Four-state feed store about how it says it's flying off the shelves, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be pretty interesting. Also, too, we'll continue to look at what's down in Arkansas and Oklahoma and await that northerly lift that are going to bring us a little bit of rain. We're also going to check out Hugh Jackman's new sci-fi action thriller, Reminiscence. You have to say it like that.
Reminiscence.
Reminiscence. Wraps it up for this Wednesday edition. Hopefully you have the chance to enjoy some fresh air. Remember, Community Fair at Missouri Southern going on today from 10 to 1. Do me a favor. Be safe. Do this all again tomorrow morning.
And we're going to do it again today at noon.